Baruch Hashem, so we're here. Chizzuk from Chassidus in the Shtiebel and the Family Minyan. What an honor. We've got this fun fly bothering us. There's a lot to dedicate today. There's a lot going on. It's Erev Tu B'av, big time. It's my anniversary, 23rd anniversary of engagement to my soulmate. It's a very mesugul time to finding your soulmate, to zivug, as it says in the Gemara, and we know the famous Gemara. There's no day like Tu B'av and Yom Kippur, so this is a special time to tune in to your soulmate, tune into your own soul even more so. And there's nothing better than learning Chassidus. We already mentioned this last time we learned. Dedicating our learning today to the Refuah Shlema of Azria or Moshe ben Sarah. This is Pesach Rothberg's son, and Rothberg, sorry. And he asked us to daven, and he's had some nisim niflos, but he still needs more tefillas for a speedy recovery. As well as we dedicate Lahavda ben Chaim L'chaim, Nidya Nishmas, to Meir Shimon ben Gavriel, or ben Avigal, Amma. This is a very special Tikkun Klali, very appropriate for learning Likutei Moharan today. And we have him in mind, a beautiful soul, a good friend of one of my son's best friends. And he's visiting Meir every week or so, literally in Har Herzl, Lo Aleinu. And he brought back today a box of Tikkun Klalis, which is Rabbi Nachman's famous segula for fixing everything up. And this is a sticker that's been all around the world already, as far as I know. Like, it's been everywhere, in France, on the Eiffel Tower, like everywhere. Everywhere. People are sharing it everywhere. Baruch Hashem, we got some fun guests here as well this week. And we're going to touch base with something very deep. We've been talking about the aura of Tefilin. Tefilin we get to do every day. And I wrote a post this week for the daily Tefilin and put it on my status. The idea of putting on Tefilin is not a small thing. Especially Tafshin Pei Hey, Tafshin Pei Vav, Ba'aleinu L'Tov is coming up. We're already now Elul. The middle of Av is already like 6 weeks. 7 Shabbos of Nechamta, heading towards Rosh Hashanah, a new year. Ba'aleinu L'Tov should be for a blessing. And 2025 has already been a crazy time. A lot of miracles, a lot of intensity. And we have to appreciate putting Tefillin on in such a time, such a generation with such seemingly hatred towards our people starting to manifest again. We get the opportunity to tune back into the light. And Moshe, says Rabbi Nachman in Torah, Lamed Ches, Sif Vav. Yeah, the sixth part of, and we're really moving, Baruch Hashem. Moshe, he was zocher to the light of the Tefillin. Moshe Kosev B'Zohar, Moshe Rabbeinu. V'yiznaslu etz eidim. What happened? He had the stripped off from their jewelry. Now we know when were they stripped off from their jewelry? We all know the famous, and it's based on the Zohar, but we know it's a famous concept that when we did the golden calf, all those in Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, beginning of the 3 weeks, and this is part of these 3 weeks we just went through. We've got I don't know if you felt the intensity on Tisha B'Av, but I mean that's the climax, and that was only this Sunday. Can you believe it? We got a lot of nachama, a lot of comfort needed, healing to do, especially after a year like we've had. It takes a lot of processing, everything going on. So when Hashem took away the crown, the jewelries from Am Yisrael, because we had Chaf Daled Takshitin. It's a deep concept that when Hashem gave us a Torah and Shavuos, He gave us 24 crowns, connected to the 24 books of Tanakh, and these jewelry, these enormous, how would you say in English, different ways of adorning yourself. For Am Yisrael, Hashem Himself, just like with Chava and Adam, Hashem got ready the Kala, Chava, so she become one with Adam. But Hashem Himself braided her hair. That's what it says in the Zohar, whatever that means. We don't understand these things, but the concept is that there's a tremendous adornment. We're the Shechina, we're part of the Zivug, a unification. Like Tu B'av, we talk about finding our soulmate, so too we're one with Hashem. So this concept of Moshe Rabbeinu taking away this jewelry, a very deep concept, but it means that we're no longer shining this light of kingship and oneness of Hashem. This light of Tefillin has been taken away from us, and that's what happened during the 3 weeks. That's why the way we experience it with the morning, on Tisha B'Av morning, the most intense part of it, we didn't wear Tefillin like we usually do. Those Tefillin were taken away. Baruch Hashem, we get to put it back again in the afternoon. and that's a Simon Tov, because Mashiach is meant to be born in that time. There's a lot of preparation now to end the 3 weeks and to get ready for Mashiach. So this is a very positive time right now, as we're turning it around. He took away the light. Maloshin Behilo Nera Alai Roshi. So it's based on a pasuk in Eov that not only does, when Hashem took the oil is the same OCS as Behilo Nera Alai Roshi. Hilo is similar to oil. Oil was the tent where Hashem was revealing himself through Moshe, and now that was taken by Moshe, moved away when we did the Egel Azav, when we were no longer serving him loyally. He moved it away, and Moshe had to move away, and he had to cover that light that he had on his face, the Or Panav, the Keren Or, this tremendous light that was emanating from Moshe Rabbeinu. And we all, in the future, will have this light. We talked about this last time we learned, and also in the Tanya, the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light, everything's connecting up. With what we were learning last time we learned. Behilo Nera Alai Roshi means that it says the same Osius as oil is Behilo in the Shorish, that this lamp that shone over my head represents this light, and this is the Tefilin. A very deep concept. We could go into all these concepts in Arichas, and there's a beautiful sefer here as well. Anyone else have a look? It has underneath a lot of explanations as well from BRI, rest of Research Institute, very deep. Vizel ki Karen or Pana. This is what we mentioned before. This is the face. Karen was like radiant. People think it's a horn. I don't know if you've heard the anti-Semitic tropes, but they think Jews have horns. You ever heard this? It's a concept. Obviously, we don't have horns. What is it that's referring to? Karen. Karen is a lotion of horn, but it means light. It means a light that was shining, emanating from us. That's the true concept. And if people are confusing it to be something low like horns or something negative, it's because they're not looking at the true light that Jews have. Jews have a light. Al Shem Keren Achas Hayelo B'Mischot. What was this Keren Achas? This one single horn on his forehead of Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Gemara in Chulin explains in Daf Samech. It's the Keren is the Tefilin, the Rosh of Tefilin. This is the Keren, the horn coming out. What I remember once, a long time ago, when I first started doing tshuva in the 90s, end of the 90s, and I was living in Brighton. I was in university in Sussex, and there was thank God I didn't stay on the campus. That saved me so much problems. It was like a hedonistic, crazy place. I stayed away from the campus. Maybe I was getting more sensitive at that time. I'd been to Israel. I already mentioned about that original trip. So I decided I'm not going to be by the campus. I'm going to find a place by the sea. And one of my best friends I'm still friends with, he actually wants to make a reunion of all my oldest friends. We just saw a few of them recently, the big on Herzliya this week. Beautiful get-togethers. One of my best friends, the first time he'd seen my brother-in-law in 25 years was this week. And we want to make a reunion, all of us in England at some point. Hopefully that will happen after Simchas Torah. We're davening it should work out. But the concept is that when I was in Brighton, and my friend helped find me a place, and it was right on the beach. And Minat Shemaim, not only was it right on the beach, it was far away from the campus, but it was also next to the only Chabad rabbi in miles and miles and miles and miles. And that changed my life. Because now, instead of hanging out in the nightclubs and the other places, I met the rabbi and I started going to shul, and that was all part of my tshuva process after being in Israel, that I had a place to follow it up right next to my house. And I would go to his house. There's a famous boxer that lived next door to him called Chris Eubank. To go to his house, and Chris would see us on the Shabbos. He'd be like, "All right, mate," it was a real English, experience. But I was having Shabbos experiences in university instead of other stuff that was going on. And one of the concepts is we went out on a trip into the hills, into the fields, like everyone's doing right now during Ben Azman, and we put our tefillin on. And because I'd come back, had I got tefillin yet? I think I borrowed the rabbi's tefillin. I hadn't got my own tefillin yet. Maybe I had. It was around that time. I'm not sure. Could be I'd been to Israel the second time and got my tefillin by that point. Could be it was my own tefillin. There was a whole story how I got those tefillin. It was a miracle in itself because I didn't get bar mitzvahed with tefillin, unfortunately. My parents were in Reform in those times, and Reform, nebuch to them, they'd say, "Look, see that box of tefillin?" Or they didn't even say tefillin, phylacteries or some funny English word. They said, "Those are things you strap around you and your bar mitzvah." I looked at this big box filled with all these tefillin, like in a bizarre way, they were just piled up on top of each other. And I was like, ugh, I'm not doing that. That looks weird. No one explained it, no one tried to put it on me, nothing. It was just some big box filled with these weird strap things. Probably weren't even kosher. So maybe they were. Anyway, the point was now I'm 18, 19, first time putting tefillin on in my life, and I went out with this rabbi, and I've got these tefillin, or someone lent me tefillin, and I'm putting tefillin on in this field, and it's surrounded by sheep, because we're in this like nice English countryside, and then suddenly all these non-Jews start turning up, seeing us putting the tefillin on, praying, and we've got these, the horns, So it was a moment, and I remember, you're used to already going to an airport, putting tefillin on, but for me it was like a new experience, and I was like aware that these people were not sure. I remember when I was on tour, I used to travel a lot with Rav Shalom Arush or Nissim Black or different artists, and please God, I'm going again tour with Levi Miller, Mathiol's son, and Dov Bear Miller. You can reach out, Hanukkah tour, and I'm also Alex Clare, please God. I've got a bunch of people where it's all being resolved hopefully the next few days. I've already got a big booking in Toronto, thank God. So I'm going to be traveling around again like I used to. And I remember many times on these flights, the domestic flights, putting tefillin on, and the Americans sitting next to me would be like, blood pressure? And I was like, should I explain it? Should I not? Trying to, the strap. I was like, it's a spiritual thing, like I'm connecting to God. My arm, my heart, my mind. And I was trying to explain it to them, but you understand that this is the horn, this light. This goes on your forehead. Yeah, and what happens, this is the aspen which is worn on the top of the forehead, because they were afraid, what? To come close. To come close. Who was afraid? Well, we know by Har Sinai we were afraid, yeah? But we were afraid also to come close to Moshe. Moshe had this light, this Keren Or. So it wasn't like, I don't know if you've had this, have you ever been by a really holy rabbi, any of you? Like, be by a really holy rabbi, you feel afraid. So just go up to him and tell your stuff, and just disturb his avoda or whatever he's doing. It's an intense feeling of like, aim of the pachad, like you're feeling a little bit like, wow, this is a holy person. You feel that there's a light coming out. I mean, my dad, when he came one time for Sukkot, but Ba'aleinu L'Tov should come, he's hopefully coming again this year after Sukkot. I really daven he should come. He hasn't been for a few years with my mother, please God, it should be well. He came into the shul on Simchas Torah, before Simchas Torah, Simchas Beit Sheva, and this is after a whole Elul and Tishrei of Simaya, this big Tzaddik, and we were dancing around Simchas Beit Sheva, and the light pouring off my Rebbe's face. You could feel it. It's energy. You can ask my wife about those days when we were by this holy rabbi. He had light. My dad, who literally like that weekend before just been doing a Bruce Springsteen concert in Hyde Park, and a few weeks before that, Pavarotti or whatever it was at that time. I remember one time he came and he was in the desert in Jordan. There's what's it called? Petra, and they put on a show for Pavarotti. And through Jordan, he came to visit us on Sukkot, and he handed me money on Sukkot. I didn't know what to do with it. I was Yom Tov, so I know what to do. But anyway, we're talking about someone from a very different world, and he's coming into this light. He saw this, my rabbi grabbed him, started dancing with him, and the light was so much, he literally ran out of the shul, got into a taxi. I phoned him, I said, Dad, where are you going? He said, I'm in a bar in Ben Yehuda. I can't. He had to just, climatize himself back to what he was used to. It was too much awe. He said, that was holy, it was too much for me. And those words coming out of his mouth, that was holy. There are people, and that's how people felt about Moshe Rabbeinu, Megeshes Alav, the Tzaddikim, or Elayim Ayira. They have upon them, not only the Tefilin, but thou will understand through them as Tavin Yiras Hashem. Then you will understand Yiras Hashem. By connecting us, that's why it's very important. When you connect yourself to holier people, we're all holy. Kulam Kadoshim, that's what Korach said, but you have to understand there is a concept of a Tzaddik. Connect yourself to a Tzaddik like Rabbi Nachman, B'Feignach, B'Simchas Chilenu, or any Tzaddikim. It gives you a feeling, a connection that you've never felt before. I remember my first time I went to Tzaddikim, I felt overwhelmed, and I had the most awesome prayer services just by being in their presence. My whole heart opened up to God in a way I never experienced. But when I went to their first time, third meal in the dark with these Tzaddikim, my whole heart was overwhelmed. Or a Shacharis on a Shabbos, and the singing, and I was crying, or a Tish. I had moments in Yiddishkeit that, like, as much as I had massive experiences in the concert world, we discussed that the other time, like being at a Radiohead show, and that tingles you get, like, and they were an unbelievable band. Or I'm just saying, or being a Live Aid, and everyone's saying, we will rock you. All the experience I had in the music world and in the non-Jewish world, and then suddenly being by Tzaddikim, it was like a different level of experience. And tonight I actually have a festival, which Nissim Black's performing at. I didn't want to fail to mention. And I got new merch. Every time I keep bringing new merch. This is Glory Nation. That's his new whole concept. His new albums are called Glory. And this is, it says on the back, and the label Nissan Black, as the hat does. And Nissan Black's performing around midnight, and Levi Miller's performing around 2, 3 in the morning. And that's my involvement. It's called the Achos Yomim, the End of Days Festival. It's a very appropriate name, considering everything we're learning as well. We'll just end off with one more concept, I think, yeah? Just to connect into everything we've been learning in this beautiful sefer. When a person does a sin, yeah, and like you're very ashamed, Hashem will forgive you straight away. That's the beautiful thing of Jewish people. We do something wrong, we usually feel it when we think about it. We're not guiltless people. You know why Amach Shema hates us so much? Hitler, Amach Shema, and all these other people like who hate us? Because we bring soulfulness to the world. We bring consciousness. We bring a feeling. They call it Jewish guilt. I don't like that. It's a holy, healthy shame that we bring. That people don't want to feel that. They want to have no conscience. They want to just do whatever they want without this feeling, this Jew reminding them that there's a presence of God in the world and that there's a soul and that they have an obligation to do the right thing. People just want to be hefker. They just want to do whatever they want. And that can come to our people also, God forbid. We have to fight that aspect of hefkerness, of just doing whatever, throwing off the Ol Malch Shemaim. Shema, this week's Parsha, Veschanan, and Esed Dibros, is to remind us that there is an Ol Malch Shemaim, there is a 10th commandments, there is an obligation, we have responsibility, and every day, morning and night, like we've been doing it in the Minyan. Every morning and every night, you're getting, not only you doing a mitzvah, bringing people together to pray to God, we also get an obligation of Ol Malch Shemaim, of bringing the Shema. You know, I'll just tell you one Chiddush I thought, and then we'll end on this, yeah? This concept of this Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu Shem Echad, 6 words. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam, another 6. 6 plus 6 is what, 12. How many hours in the morning, in the day? How many hours?
Say 12.
12. How many hours in the night?
12.
So a Chiddush I thought of one time, that if you really have kavanah to those 12 words, you just, at the beginning of the morning, you just elevated and brought them all into unification, those 12 hours ahead in your day. And the same at night. Those 12 words, it's called in the Svarim Yichud Ilah, Yichud Tatah, unification above, Yichud, the Balatani talks about, Tzaddik can talk about it. There's a unification going on above, a unification going below, and those Shema Yisrael is unification above, and Baruch Shem is unification below. Those 12 words will unify those 12 hours coming. And that's why it's so important every morning and night to say the Shema. And it brings the Esed Dibros. Esed Dibros is hidden within the Shema. The Yushalmi says. You can connect into the 10 commandments every morning and every day through the Shema. It's brought down in Yushalmi, it's explained, and some Siddurim have it. But like, for example, just very simply, Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu is Anochi. Hashem Echad Elo Yeh Lecha. Anochi is I took you out of Mitzrayim, I'm your God, the first commandment of all the commandments of Emunah in the first of the 10 commandments. Anochi, I'm your God, that's Hashem Elokeinu. Shema Yisrael, listen to all the souls of Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu, I'm Hashem, your God, that's introduction. Hashem Echad is Lo Yeh Lecha. You shouldn't have any other God because you're involved with the unification. That's the second commandment of the 10 commandments. And as you go through the Shema and you learn, you'll see it's all connected to the 10 commandments. So every day we're bringing alive the 10 commandments as well. We don't say them every day, it's not our minhag, but they are hidden within our tefillah. And just to understand, it's very important that we get the second dibros, the second commandment, second tablet, because the first tablets are broken, so we get the second tablets. Moshe Rabbeinu had to deal with this. This is what we're talking about now. This is the time of year when Moshe Rabbeinu is helping us connect in and to feel the shame of what we went through the 3 weeks and what we've gone through in our life where we haven't really been aligned, and to realign ourselves during these 7 weeks and get ready for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, so we can attach ourselves to these levels as Tavin Yiras Hashem. Because then we'll understand and we'll get back the mochin, the understandings, the true awareness, the true abundance of das, and understand our mind will start working the way a Jew's supposed to think, and we'll have this light upon us like the tefillin and this mochin, and will go into our brain, true consciousness, and then we'll be able to understand what it means to have awareness of Hashem. And that will be the light to the nations. That will be, each Jew himself will have a Karen, will have this light of Moshe Rabbeinu. And it's not just going to be something we'll have to have the Tzaddik. The Tzaddik will become all of us. I mean, kulam tzaddikim. We're all going to be righteous. We're all going to shine this light. And this is part of Zeh Hashem Kavinu Lam. Tu B'av is a day, ultimately, which is a day that could be Mashiach Day. Just to end off on this concept, I don't know if you ever heard this. Tu B'av is the day that's one of the most mesugul days for Mashiach. Because there's a lot of explanations, but for example, the Shvi Pesach needs to match up with a day. And Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring a day that it matches up with. It leaves that one day, every other day it matches up with a Yom Tov of Pesach. Shvi Pesach doesn't match it up with anything. Tzaddikim say it's because it's matched up with Tu B'av. And Tu B'av is the day, it's a hidden day, but it has within it not only the soulmate aspect, but us again as a people coming unified again. The unity aspect. That all the tribes will be able to marry to each other, all the Am Yisrael will have more unification, more unity. And that's why it's very appropriate. It comes out of Eschanan, which is all about unification, the Shema, everything we're learning, and it's in our Tefilin, the Shema. And it's on our head, the Tefilin, to bring in the unification of Hashem into everything, and that will bring Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'mher V'yameinu. Everyone should be blessed, a beautiful Shabbos, and we should only share good news for all of Am Yisrael. Amen.